Good afternoon, good evening, morning, folks. This is your man, always Joy Page, aka the Emperor of Female Body Talk, coming here live on YouTube. Well, folks, yesterday I had a little live stream section. We had some guests here, and today is our Muscle Talk Monday 207. Yeah. And this is the last day of September. What in the world? I mean, time is flying. I mean, it just seemed like it, we just got 3 more months left. So, folks, before we start, I want to give a shout out to the ladies competed over the weekend. Most definitely, the ladies have been, most definitely the ladies who have represented themselves in their divisions. And they looked great. I mean, it was. I did watch the uh, Legion show because my big brother was there, but I did not get to watch some of the other show, which was a Daytona. Somebody sent me somebody sent me a link a while back, and I might watch it later when I get a chance because I'm usually busy. So I'm going to shout out before we start our main stream. I'm going to shout out to a lady who got the pleasure of interviewing on my channel. Um, you know, over the weekend we have here Sergeant Yvonne Pennington, and she is now going to the Olympia for the second time. And that's the same show at the Legion Sports Fest. She looked amazing. I mean, she looked great. I mean, even if she was dealing with an injury, and she still won. And next up also is Alina Alvarez Romero, and she won at Daytona, and she looked great. I mean, she did a couple of shows for this year's Olympic qualification. That was the Tampa and the Tupelo. Didn't place as well as she thought, but she started a new show because I want to give a shout out. And both ladies were amazing. I want to say they represented themselves. So I wish them all the best of luck for in 2025's Olympia. So shout out to them. So here we're gonna talk about discussion now. We said this before about now we're coming to New Year and who's gonna be the next star. So really gonna get the brass wing in women's bodybuilding and also physique and the other divisions. So we have here first we're gonna bring in my man who just competed at the Legion Sports Festival. Shout out to my man, Big Keith Williams, the champ. The champ is here.
Hold on.
The champ is here. Let's give the champ a minute. And next up we have here is my man Jeremy, aka formerly the Art of Female Bodybuilding.
Put this on.
Yeah, you can put it on.
Hey guys.
Hey, brother, how you doing? Welcome back. So we're gonna talk right there with my man Big Keith. As you know, he was there, and I think he looked great. I did watch the prejudging. I missed the finals because by the time the finals came around, I went out to sleep. I'm an old man. I can't stay up all night like I used to when I was younger. So and also he did master. So brother, share your experience. What was it like for you? And how and just you look great. I mean, you look really good.
First of all, Chris put on the show is amazing. It's an amazing production. It kind of reminded me of a mini Arnold classic. Let's put it that way, with the Expo, and I sent you some pictures of powerlifting and Muay Thai and sword fighting, all kinds of stuff. It really was a great venue, a great place to be. I'm looking forward to doing this show next year as well. Me and took some pictures with Chris, and we're going to get into something very interesting here in a minute. But from my experience, it was a great show. I can't wait to do it again. The judging was a little weird, but other than that, it was a good show from the women all the way to the men. I seen your girl. She sent you some pictures. She said you were met.
Yeah, I tell him again. Why keep getting my girls? I love my brother, but you keep running with girls.
Asked Tina. She jumped out of her seat and said, "We gotta take this picture for George." I was walking by and she's like, "Hey, we need to go take a picture for George." So
I love it. I
told Art he needs to get his ass up and get to these shows.
You know my situation. I'm broke.
Hey, I told you. Next year, the plan is for me and Tina to either do the Chicago or the Tampa. I think that's what we decided, where we can both compete in the same show. And like I said, we're offering you on a plane ticket and accommodation. So, I don't want to hear your fucking excuses, bro. You know, talk about you broke. Somebody give me your all expense paid for. I ain't trying to hear that because you better take some
All right,
valuables and
all right, all
beverages
right,
and get
all
the
right,
hell on
all
the
right,
plane.
all right, all
Yeah,
right, all right.
or you could do like Tina used to do. Tina hates flying. Before I met her, I never knew she didn't like flying. So when I first met her, I was like, hey, I'm gonna buy you a ticket, fly you to New York for the New York Pro. And she was like, okay. And it's one of those things when you first meet a person, they're like, oh, this guy's full of shit. To my travel agent called her and was like, hey, I need your name. Because I didn't realize Tina hated flying. So she would take the train everywhere. So if we got to buy you a train ticket, we'll buy you a train ticket, bro.
I know what I need to get. Like I said, keep telling myself I need to get out of my own way, and that's the situation that I think I would take the flight because like I said, it's a lot safer nowadays. But yeah,
Planes, trains, and
I'll
automobiles, bro. Planes, trains, and
trains now.
automobiles.
We're
But
not
no,
gonna be
Chris,
like John Candy. We're not gonna be like
it's
John Candy and Steve Martin. Like, is that a pillow? That's not a pillow. So
but no, Chris, I told him yesterday as we walked out of the finals, me and uh, uh, Troy, who won our class, we told him it was an unbelievable show. We're looking forward to coming back next year, competing. Like I said, the biggest problem I have, and it's not necessarily Chris's fault, it's the IFBB's fault when it comes to this whole master's class and how the master's class don't give out pro cards to masters only for masters because I got my pro card open, but now I'm 51, so I compete in both. I said, but don't give out all these master pro cards at North Americans, at the Master Nationals, and all this other stuff, and treat the master guys as if they're amateurs because that's what's happened. You got to pay. You got to pay to enter the master show. You got to pay to buy a pro card. So, like I was talking yesterday, I don't understand the difference between a master and an amateur because the only difference is I have a pro card and can do a pro show, but I'm still paying as if I'm an amateur. So what the fuck is the difference?
it's
I don't
just like I said.
understand.
We talked about this before. How the amateur shows where you got shows like there's a couple of shows that's not Olympic qualification shows, but they still compete. Where if you're going to compete, why not treat them like the amateurs and let them have a overall for Olympic qualification? And I understand that because the Masters is not as popular as he wants it. Because you know what, your prize money comes from the money you put in for your pay fee. It's not being
So here's a prime
sponsored.
example. I paid $150 into the master show. Open, I don't pay anything. Open, we got, masters, we all got, everybody who's an athlete got a nice gift bag. Open competitors, I got this nice, Legion sweat jacket, $85, $90 sweat jacket. As a master, I got a bag and that's it. Which I'm sitting there saying, I feel like a redheaded stepchild as a master guy if I were to compete in masters because, you know, I'm a pro too, and I understand I'm a master's, but why am I being treated different when I pay $275 just like an open person to enter the show? And not only am I doing that, but I'm spending $150. And then here's a catcher. So the catch was when you look at the thing, it says $12,500 prize money for the masters. Well, that's broken up into all the master classes. So, say for instance, I would have won yesterday. I would have won 1,000. I won $250 yesterday. Woohoo! I'm like, that's what I won yesterday. $250. I'm like, I won more, $100 more. I won $100. I got $100 back. That was so I got $100 back off my investment. But an open, it was like 15 grand. For the winner of 15, and it went from 15 to like I don't even know what the breakdown was for second, third, fourth, and fifth. But again, and I understand it's going to be significantly different because it's Masters versus Open. That's why the great thing at the show, Hidetada Himaguchi was here, and Danny Hester was doing the play-by-play, and Hidetada, who's now taken over the Master Olympia in Tokyo, Japan, says the prize money is going to be more, and the whole setup is going to be completely different. So let me throw this at you guys real quick, and you guys tell me what you think about this. So my wife's a very vocal person. So we go to the Legion's booth, because she liked the sweat jacket that we got, and the lady's like, she's like, how much is this jacket? And she's like, $85. And she's like, are you competing this weekend? Because you look at Tina, she's in unbelievable shape because she just got to compete a week ago. And get down. And she is like, No, they don't have women's bodybuilding here. So she gave Tina a free jacket. She's like, well, that sucks. So she goes, so we see Chris. And I say, Chris, and the picture that I have taken before I left, and Tina said again, she had to walk away because, she's like, I might say some shit that I don't want to say. And here's the problem. So Chris says, I'm like, Chris, why don't you have women's bodybuilding? He says, when somebody's willing to give me 20 grand for it, I'll put women's bodybuilding. That's what he said. He goes, when somebody's willing to sponsor it. But the weird thing is, guess who showed up yesterday was it yesterday or the Saturday? Walked in the building, the Wings and Strength team walked in.
Jake.
So Alex was there with Jessica. They came in just to check it out. And I was like, so I looked at Alex and Jessica. I'm like, hey, tell Jake we need him to drop 20 grand so they can get with, because it's a perfect show. I mean, it's that they got the expo. They got every other category. I feel that it would be a perfect place for Wings of Strength to drop some money in, to bring women's bodybuilding, to bring in their booth, to sell their apparel and all this other stuff. I think it's a perfect place for them. Not everybody wants to go to the Arnold, and it was a good turnout. It's in Reno. It's another little mini Las Vegas, I guess, if you want to call it. Whatever. Never been here before. It's all right. But Alex was there, Jessica was there, and I looked at them like, and Chris, word for word, I can quote him on this, says, if somebody's willing to sponsor it, give me 20 grand to sponsor it, I'll put it in the show.
Yeah, it makes sense because the fact is, as I look at the list, there are at least 7 more. There's actually just counting this show and the one in Florida, 2 shows for next year's qualification, and there's 5 more after the Olympia. While with women's bodybuilding, there's only one, and that's the show in Romania, the Lena show, Muscle Fest. This would have been a great show because think about it.
I mean, it was amazing. It was, and to see them walk in, and I actually looked at Jessica and and I said, and Alex, and I said, yo, y'all need, and just in her exact words to me was, I need 20 grand too. I go, well, you need to look at Jake, and I know he's spread all over the place, but it's like, I'm just gonna say this. He makes that an interest. He makes that an interest in the day. He makes that an interest in the day. And I'm not gonna put his business out and say who said that, told me that, but to drop 20 grand into a show, and the great thing about it, it's the week after the Titan show, so. Here's a prime example. A lot of the classic physique guys that I've seen compete in the Titan show were here this weekend. We're here, this last weekend competing in this show, in the Masters and the Open class. Most of the Master guys, most of the Open classic physique guys were also Masters too. So they competed in both. So it's a benefit to both promoters to have that Titan show where it was last weekend, and then girls can just jump on the plane. And we actually drove here. It was an 8-hour drive from LA to here to do the Legion show. And again, I've seen a bikini girl, a figure girl who's already qualified for this year's Olympia, which is a smart thing they do, and I get it now. And so they're going to compete in Olympia this year in 14 days or 10 days or whatever, but then they already know that they're qualified for next year. So even if they don't do well at this Olympia, they already know that they're qualified for next year's Olympia because they just won this show. So it makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, the Legion has just grown by leaps and bounds. I remember when it just started out, I mean, it was nothing compared to what it is now. And I mean, this is like only, 3-4 years ago?
Yeah,
and now it's blown up into this.
Because remember,
so it's
because I looked at Chris, I said, so him and Lou Ferrigno were partners, and so they had the Lou Ferrigno Classic in Palm Springs. So that's where Chris got started that, before they even had the Legion show. But then him and Lou Ferrigno parted ways, and from what I understand, it was his family that kind of ruined that relationship between him and Chris. From what Chris told me, a couple days ago at the show, because I'm like, well, what happened? He's like, Lou Ferrigno's family is just, something different. Let's just say that. And they kind of ruined him and his business situation. And so Chris, started the Legion show, and in the Legion, like he not only does a Legion show, but he has a ton of shows. But this Legion show to me reminisced just when I walked into the venue, when you walked into the Sparks Convention Center, it reminded me of the Arnold Classic, but smaller. And it's a great venue. It's an absolutely great venue. And so I'm like, wow. The only thing that are missing, because they have every other class but women's bodybuilding. And
And
I
212.
looked at him and I said to him, and Tina said to him, when are you gonna bring women's bodybuilding? And he's like, when somebody's willing to give me 20 grand to sponsor.
Yeah.
That was
We have some comments here. We have from a man Warrior. He says this. He says, this Miss Olympia is going to be stacked a lot of elite, powerful athletes that will give the audience a show of femininity and muscle. Thank you, brother. Also, Warrior says, Yvonne Pennington looks too freaking beautiful. She's a bright future for her. Yeah. And also, this is from Warrior. He says, you did a great job, Keith, at the Legion show. I appreciate that. This is from Raheem. He says, I'm not broke. I'll be there next year. Yeah, that's cool for you, brother. You got a job. I don't got a job. And this is from Warrior. He's hating, always saying, like, really, George? I thought Andrea Shaw was your girl. How are you going to claim Maria as your girl now? What's going on?
Hey, that's my question too. Have you gone polygamist on us?
Well, here's the
without knowing this shit.
Well, here's another. When Maria did the interview with me, she told me I was her first time. So
okay, George. The question I have is the girl that's with Maria, because I don't know the situation. The tall girl with the gray hair. I thought she was married for one.
She's friends. They're friends.
They're friends.
She's married. She's very happily married.
Yeah,
married.
So this is like a best friend of hers.
Yeah, so, they're the best friends. They're very good friends.
Yeah.
Because everywhere I see them, they're holding hands.
They're just good friends.
Kind of different.
They're really good friends. Because we want to do a thing where we do like talk about friendships.
Did you see her doing the pull-ups?
Yeah,
I did.
With the weights.
She was showing her ass out. Great spirit, but I was just super confused because I was like, her and this girl, for one, Maria is like all of 4 foot nothing. And this girl that she's walking around was like all of 6 foot and above. And they're holding hands and they're walking around everywhere. So I'm like, I'm really confused with what the situation is.
They're just really good friends because, I remember right back when we wanted to do a thing where she wanted to bring Aubrey, because I interviewed Aubrey before. She's a nice lady. She really works in Upper Canada. She does a lot of services for people with homeless and disabilities and mental issues. She's a great person. Maria, you know how she is. She's out there. And you should see that, you ever seen their husbands, Aubrey's husband's like probably my height, and Maria's husband's like really tall. That'd look like they're like if you could cross change them,
Aubrey's the girl that she's always with is super tall too.
Yeah, because Maria's husband's super tall, Aubrey's super tall. I can see that, and you can see Maria with Aubrey's husband. You can cross the change, but they're really good friends. That's all it is.
Now is to get us.
Warrior,
sorry, go ahead.
You and Tudor both did a fantastic job at your shows competing. Yeah, shout out to thank you, Warrior. What about to say, Jeremy?
Well, I mean, when he says that, okay, give me $20,000, we just had a show in the Titans Grand Prix that came out of nowhere, and it was expressly for women's bodybuilding and fitness as far as the pro level. So if they can come up with a whole show devoted exclusively to that, clear out of the blue, the money's out there clearly.
Yeah. Well,
there's interest enough to be able to create an entire show just for women's bodybuilding, right? Clear out of the blue when you find out all these other shows at the beginning of the year were all canceled. So it's like the money's there. So,
and that's what I want to talk to you guys about, because I'm like, okay, Tamer's exact words were at the athletes meeting where me and Jake got together and felt that it wasn't enough women bodybuilders in the Olympia. And so we added this show. So clearly because he's the producer of the Olympia for Jake. So he is the guy who runs the Olympia. So clearly at some point in time, him and Jake had a conversation that they felt that there wasn't enough competitors. Because remember, and it was a great turnout. There were 19 girls in that show. and that was a great. I think it was the biggest turnout in a bodybuilding show. And it's a, like I said last week, it's a great place because you're right across the street from Disneyland. You're right, everything's convenient, airports and all this other stuff. Me and my family stayed at a resort. It was a great time. So, and then, you got this jaunt of 8 hours or 45-minute flight from Anaheim to here. And again, at the exact same time, it'll be interesting to see what happens because, like I said, Jessica and Alex showed up at this show. And I was like, well, what are you guys doing here? And they're like, well, we just came to check it out, to see what it was about. So maybe, because Alex is the president of Wings of Strength. So she works underneath Jake. And then you got Jessica who does all the athlete stuff. And so the two powers that be for Wings of Strength were here in the building this last weekend watching the show. The title was here. It was a lot of people at this show here. So it'd be interesting to see what happens next year, seeing that, and my wife was very vocal. She had to actually walk away because Chris he said it several times. He didn't say it one time. He said it several times. She goes, when are you guys bringing women's bodybuilding to the show? And his exact words, quote unquote, is when somebody wants to sponsor and give me 20 grand to put it in the show because I'm running out of money with all the classes that I already have in the show.
What they need to do is this. Linda is right now, she is the, next to Alina, one of the top promoters. If you can do like you do with what Sarah do with the Texas Pro, if you can create a trophy called the Linda Murray Trophy and put women's bodybuilding in it. And if Jake, and you get Jake, somebody else also could put up not just $20,000, maybe at least a good chunk of change, like a good $30,000, $40,000 where it can cover the prize money also. And that would be an incentive for a lot of competitors to jump on that show because one of the ladies competing in women's physique, her name is Lada. She also competed in women's bodybuilding. That's that weekend before. And like I said, I know Jake. He's stretching all his everything here, but yeah, that'd be a great show for like qualification for 2026 Olympia.
Well, and here's the thing, George. The problem is, and me and Melanie, Melanie was a respected. She's my coach. She's a respected pro bodybuilder, and she's like, when she competed, there were like 4 shows, and now there's 5 or 6 shows or whatever. But here's the problem. You got these shows in Europe, and I get it. Alina shows in Europe and all this other stuff. But as a human being, whether you're male or female, to sit there and say, well, I'm going to drop, like I said, probably for me and my wife to compete, the last 2, we've been gone for 2 weeks, it was almost close to 7, 8 grand, maybe almost 10 grand that we spent. Between tickets for a coach and the kids and food and everything else and the hotel accommodations and things like that, it's expensive. So that being said, if I'm a woman and I'm competing in Europe, one, it depends if you travel with your coach or your significant other. And, if you have a significant other, the plane tickets to get to Europe, like I said, even to go to Tokyo, I already looked into Tokyo, it's like $1,500 to go to Tokyo. But again, if you're going to Europe and sitting there saying Romania, if I had to go look up and say how much it costs me to go to Romania right now, probably looking at least $1,000 to $1,500 for a ticket. When the prize money is only $2 grand,
right?
How do you justify that? You can't. And again, like you've seen a lot of these classic physique guys, and I use them as an example. And I don't know if because they had fitness here as well. I don't know how many of the fitness girls came to this show from the Titan show. But again, it was a smart move for them because they're like, well, shit, I might as well, the guys who won the Titan show qualified for the Olympia for this year. The guy who won the show this year qualified for next year. But it's an easy move. So it's like they say, for prime example, let's hypothetically say they had women's bodybuilding this year at this show. And say, for instance, Tina left Titan show and came here and won. Then she would automatically be qualified for next year. But it makes sense to do something like that. But again, what we've been talking about all year, and we can all agree on this, is where's the money? Who's going to put up the money? And when a promoter like Chris, who runs a bunch of shows, looks me in my face and says, when I get somebody to sponsor this show, give me 20 grand. That's what the number was. 20 grand to sponsor the show, then I'll bring in women's bodybuilding. There lies the problem. Because the promoter of the show has spread himself so thin with all the other categories that adding one more like women's bodybuilding, which I know this is, here's the thing, and I want to bring this up before I forget. So we've had this conversation plenty of times on George's podcast about this. People sit here and say, and I'm gonna call bullshit on it right now, and it pisses me off. People sit here and say that, oh, men's bodybuilding is the draw, right? That's what we hear. It's the fucking draw. No offense, when I went on stage yesterday, by the time we went on stage, no, not yesterday, because it was NPC and bodybuilding. By the time I went on stage Saturday, open bodybuilding, there were nobody in the audience. Nobody. They were there for bikini, wellness, figure, women's physique, probably classic physique. About time the open men got on stage, it was fucking crickets. So again, you're gonna sit here and tell me that men's bodybuilding, and I remember doing the Chicago Pro. Me and Sergio Oliva Jr. was here too, and we were talking about this the other night. That when we did the Chicago Pro about 3 or 4, maybe 5 years ago, we didn't get on stage till midnight, and there was nobody in the audience. So when you want to sit here and say the biggest purses is for men's bodybuilding, but yet we look in the stands and nobody's there, how is that the most popular and the biggest draw? How is that possible?
Well, but you got to take into consideration, though, the fact that you're showing up to compete at midnight. When did the night show start?
Well, so for instance, okay, so at prejudging art, we got to Saturday prejudging started at 9:30. I got there at 9:30. We didn't go on stage for 5 hours.
Right. I get that.
About time I got done with prejudging for the open class, we were done about 12:31, and then we had to be back at 3 for the finals. I think the show started at 3:30. So thank God my hotel is just right down the street. But again, at the end of the day, they remember a couple years ago, me and Sergio were talking about this, and Hidetada was talking about this. Remember at the Olympia in Florida a couple years ago, the bodybuilders didn't even go on stage till midnight.
But see, that right there is the problem. It's not necessarily a question of popularity. That's badly managed. Exactly. I mean, I've been to shows where the whole damn thing is done by like 9-10 o'clock. Period. Absolutely everything is done, and it's no more than like 3 to 4 hours. But there are other shows I've been to, like Illinois State Championships. This was a local level show. It's the same thing. It's like they said, and that's like a 2-hour drive for me, one way, because I didn't.
Tamer's show, they started. So they had the NPC. They started the NPC at 11 o'clock. They stopped. And the pros went on. Pros got done. They started back with the NPC. 3 o'clock, the finals started. Pros went on. We were done by 6 o'clock.
Right. So the problem there is not a question necessarily of popularity. It's a question of show management. Because like this show I'm talking about in Illinois, it was 12 o'clock when I left. So the night show went on for 9 hours, and they were still not done. And I had a 2-hour drive ahead of me.
Because you know this sport. Okay, so if bodybuilding supposedly is the draw, you would think that people would still be in the stands to see. There were 23 guys. They would still be in the stands to see and watch. But I looked out in the audience, and there was maybe, in the VIP, then the regular seating, they were not even half full, not even close to half full. So I'm like, what? And the night show was kind of the same thing. So I'm like, is it the draw? And as a pro, I've been to shows, I competed in shows and seen this on several occasions. So I'm sitting there saying, is it the draw? I feel when I'm looking at women's bikini, women's wellness, women's figure, women's physique, men's classic physique, and men's physique, that place is jam-packed with people to see those classes. By the time they get to men's bodybuilding, it's crickets.
But then again, it comes down to a question of how the show is managed. Because you have some shows where the night show will go on for hours and hours and hours and hours. Now your die-hard bodybuilding fan is probably going to wait all those hours and hours and hours. But the most people who will go to this, They're families of the competitors. They're the kids of the competitors, and your average everyday person is not going to sit there for 7 fucking hours. They're not.
You're right.
So that's why you have to go. So that's why I'm going to respectfully disagree with you, Keith. I don't necessarily think it's a question of draw. I think it's a question of show management. If you've got a show that is so well managed, like the one that you're talking about, like bam, right at that point, we end this, start the pros, get them done, out of the way. Or other shows that I've been to that are so well managed that they don't mess around with this, and the show is over at a certain time.
If they're paying the men the biggest purse, then why not put men's bodybuilding on first?
That's
again, show management.
And here, like this, I watched the Legion, not the Legion, the Vancouver Isle show. They did the amateurs first before they did the pros. So to me, most people come, especially unless you're someone who's there to support, who's your friend or family member, most people want to watch the pros because that's the ones that really bring the house in. You support the amateurs, but you really want to watch the big boys. You want to watch the top of the top.
Well, in my opinion, I think it's the opposite. I think they do these pro-am shows because when I looked in the audience yesterday, because it was 3 pro classes, physique, women's physique, masters. I would have to look at schedule classic and pro bodybuilding, I think men's physique. But the most people that were in the audience were there because the NPC show was yesterday, and I think they had 3 or 4 master pro classes. But everybody's there. All these family and friends are there to see these amateurs compete. That's why I think they start doing these pro-am shows. I mean, that's why Tim Gardner started doing them. If you ever look at Tim Gardner's show, and I've been to a lot of these shows, these pro-am shows, there's so many. Keith, open the door for mommy. Keith, open the door. It's so many people there. Open the door. It's so many. Open the door. That door. There's so many. Open it.
You want to open the door? Go ahead, open the door. We hold it.
Kid, if you can hear this, open the door.
Open the door for Daddy.
So
wait a minute. I got a comment right here. He says, why Wings of Strength can shop for a TV streaming deals? I mean, WWE Raw is going to do to Netflix in 2025. Well, that's the thing is, WWE is they're not. It's not WWE more much is because they're under a new company, and that's TKO. They're the ones who are controlling more stuff now because WWE only has, that's Titan Sports, 41% of the interest, and while the other person has 51%. And the reason why they go to Netflix because they want. I don't know why. I don't really watch streaming services. I watch more antenna stuff while I'm on here online. Also, this is from my man Warrior. He says, "How much is the Olympia live stream? Does anyone know?" Well, I think
it's a lot. Yeah.
Well, and here's the problem with this live stream thing that I found out from these guys who ran it here. Like if you had a camera, if you were videotaping your living, these guys were they were taking your SIM cards, they were snatching your phones out of your hand, and they were saying, if you know anybody that is doing something like on YouTube, like doing some kind of stream, because I don't understand any of it, to let them know. Because I remember the first year Jake put on the Olympia in Orlando, and I remember us getting on the elevator, and we had this conversation. He was so fucking furious because he paid so much money for the streaming, but what people were doing, they were streaming and then they were taking it and putting it on YouTube, and he was losing a shit ton of money.
Right, exactly. That's one thing I've been ranting and railing against on this show is when people do this shit, and because it takes a lot of money to put one of these shows on, let alone getting the streaming rights for it. And then you got guys who will go out and they'll broadcast this shit for free, but some of them are saying, "Oh, we're doing this for the women." No, you're not. You're doing it for yourself because you're cheap as hell. That's why you're doing it. Don't give me this crap that it's all for the women. It isn't. It's because you want this stuff and you want it for free.
Well, I don't ever so stream. Like sometimes I would take and maybe show pieces of the show, like like if somebody's doing a competition, and I might post it because not everybody watched it because it's part of my content. It's like after the show, maybe like not the day of the show. It's like maybe a day show after. I might like.
But see, even if you do that, I mean, I don't know if there's necessarily a statute of limitations on it. If they don't want you to stream it, they don't want you to stream it, period. It doesn't matter whether it's 2 days, 5 days, 10 days after the show.
Yeah,
They still don't want to do it.
Well, I mean, you see that thing on the NFL. Like, the NFL says the same damn thing. Like, if we catch you copying,
Right, exactly.
They'll come after you. And I remember the conversation with Jake. Me and Jake would get on the elevator in Orlando, and he was extremely frustrated about how much money he spent and how people were bootlegging his shit. And
right.
He was pissed. And I get it. And like that's why they at the Titan show, because they didn't live. It wasn't a live stream, so like Kansas is able to Facebook Live so people can see your mom. People were able to take pictures. That's different. But when they're spending all this money, in this show here was a production like Wings and Strange Productions and like the Arnold production, and I get it, but it was such a small venue that they could see everybody. So I watched the security guy go up and snatch several people's phones out of their hands and cameras out of their hands.
Sure. But then it's like, why do you, it's like, this has always killed me when people, some of these shows, like, what's the guy's name who produced the Titan show? The one that you said it's got like some, yeah, see, he puts out show, Muscle Contest. You go look at their promotional material. They say no audio or video equipment allowed. Any such equipment will be seized. And such like that. But then they let the fucking cell phones in. Yeah. Why? What sense does that make? You can stream a fucking show from your cell phone. Yeah, why are you even letting this stuff in? If you want to restrict it, put a fucking signal jammer in there. That'll shut down anybody trying to stream out of the actual room in which it's in. They've got these. They can use that.
Or you do this, when you before the show, you tell people if you got a cell phone, leave your cell phone at home. Because they used to do this while you took a strip club. You couldn't bring your cell phone in because you might be taking pictures of the girls or something like that, and some of the girls don't like that.
Yeah, but then you got the hassle. Like if they tried to round up all the cell phones at the very beginning of the show, you got to divide that out. You got to put them in right places so that things won't get lost or mixed up. I mean, it's just for me. Don't come up with these, quite frankly, out of date solutions for modern technology. Like saying, "Oh, we're just going to go up and down." It's like put a signal jammer in the room. You solve the problem right there. Nobody can broadcast except you.
And again, my biggest thing is like what we've been talking about all year is simply, as a promoter, and Tina's here to witness because she's got back in the room, is when you look at a promoter and she's a women's pro bodybuilder, it's like, hey, when are you going to bring women's pro bodybuilding? And they're like, hey, when somebody pays us the money, it's like, I said, get rid of Wallace from bikini and not us.
Wait, she knows better than that. You're not going to get rid of that's the TNA.
Bikini and add us.
They're not going to get rid of TNA. Not going to get rid of the tits and ass division. They're not.
Yeah, they're not getting rid of that. That's
and then you got to remember, they got right now the prize money for wellness was like $4,000 for first place because Wolfpack is sponsoring.
I tried to tell them.
And you like the thing is, it's about what sells. And we said earlier, the men's division, they're always going to get attention because it's the first division that started it all. They're always going to get the attention, even though you may not be the last. But you can think about it, the promoters will still put money behind it because it's the first division. It's the grandfather division. If it wasn't for that, you wouldn't have women's bodybuilding. You wouldn't have all the other divisions from it, with the exception of bikini, which was kind of brought in. I always say that bikini was, no offense to bikini competitors, it's more of an invasive species that's here, but it's already here already, so there's nothing much you can do about it. So, and that's the same thing with wellness. It's brought in. It hadn't evolved like, women's bodybuilding and fitness and figure and even physique. Those divisions grew from the sport, while the other two were brought in because they wanted something soft, something more feminine. Because figure was getting to the point where if you look now, the girl who just competed at the Legion show, she took third again. She was figure. I don't know if she's still gonna do figure at the Olympics. She might as well because that's the qualification. She can try next year and try to get qualification in physique. But it's just they just don't sit down and set the rules and say, hey, we're sticking with the criteria. And and the ones
Man, I
that should
wish you
be
guys could have. I wish you guys could have heard the thing that Isabel and Bob put on today was absolutely amazing about women's physique. It was.
What
You got to
was
go
it?
to
What
her
was it they said?
If you go to her reels, it wasn't. It was. I guess if Tina said it wasn't on today, but if you go to her reels and listen to her and Bob, because it's like them above each other talking about it, it's amazing to listen to what they're saying because it's the same thing we're talking about, but again, at the exact same time, it's one of those things where I didn't realize Bob Chigarillo was the one who created women's physique. And he
He's
is.
not.
Yeah,
He
he was.
isn't. No,
He wrote the rules.
Betty
No, he wrote the
Pariso
rules, Art.
came up with a suggestion.
No,
Betty
he wrote.
Pariso came up with a suggestion 2 years before he did.
No, he did not. He wrote the rules.
He wrote the
made it
rules.
up. Absolutely, 100%.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, but he worked with Betty Pariso, but she originally came up with the idea 2 years before he decided to write those rules. And she submitted. I got the letter from her that she said that she submitted it to the IFBB for it. So yeah, the two of them worked together. He set it up, but he's not the one who came up with it.
Then why is he getting all the credit? Why is
Because
he the one with his name on it? She's not the one with her name on it.
I know.
The rules. He came up with the criteria. He came up with everything. 100%. That was his idea that he told her. She submitted it. He came up with the shit. That's how that worked. That's all Bob Chigarillo. If it wasn't for him, and you can argue this with me all you want, but if it wasn't for him, it wouldn't be there.
I'm not saying he wasn't involved. I'm saying he didn't get to it first.
His idea. What I'm saying is you're wrong. It was definitely Bob. Definitely, 100%.
I'm just saying I didn't know. I didn't know at all.
Okay.
I didn't know that, because when Isabel kept saying that, like, you created this category, and I'm like, he did? Because I knew it was coming, because Chris Bongiovanni a long time ago had said, after the whole thing, remember we talked about this, guys, when that whole thing came on MSNBC with what's her name? The Dave Palumbo's ex-girlfriend, Colette
Nelson.
Yeah, Nelson and all those girls talking about how they had to record their voice and how they felt that they were getting exposed in women's bodybuilding because they weren't making as much money and all the drugs and things they had to take in order to compete, but weren't making nearly as much money. Chris Bongiovanni told me, quote unquote, women's bodybuilding is coming to an end because it pissed off Jim Manning. And so remember, it just disappeared. And then all of a sudden, she said there's a new category called women's physique. And again, the I don't really care who created or whatever the case may be. The whole content of the conversation, if you go to the reel was, it went from being this feminine look to this hard look and being think about it, guys. The women's physique girls are in better shape than the women's bodybuilding girls. How is that? And we understand that. She's like, they don't carry as much muscle. I get that. But again, at the end of the day, when Sandy Williamson says, we're not in Georgia, you've seen the video I sent you, we're not going to have castrations in the glutes and blah, 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 this, that, and other. And that's all you see on these girls and things like that. It's like, what? And like Bob Chigarillo says, and you guys got to both go, promise me you got to go look at it, because it simply says this. Bob says, and he has a great point, give them a piece of paper and make them check the boxes, because this is the judging thing. And we've been talking about this. All three of us have been talking about this a long time. This is a judging thing. This is not an athlete's thing. This is not our thing. It's a judging problem.
Right.
Gentlemen, what I did was, while y'all was sitting talking, I went and I found that reel. It's on Isabel's IG. It's the conversation with her and Bob Chigarillo. I'm going to pull it up here, and I'm going to play it for y'all so we can get. It's also it's put into. Here we go.
How long is it?
I don't know. It may not be too long. I hope not. Let me see if I can speed it up a little bit.
Though.
Hello.
Let me see if I can.
It was basically talking about a girl who was bitching about all the drugs that the girls in women's physique are using. And
Bob, can you send me a request?
Let me see if I can. There's a way I can maybe speed up a little bit. See, there's supposed to be a way where I can speed it up some. It might be a little long because I'm trying to find a way
Yeah,
that
it's
I don't know.
long, so it's not
Yeah,
Oh,
it's
here we
not
go.
that you guys
Okay.
both just gotta go back and look
Gotcha.
at and listen to, because it's very
yeah, that'd be a good idea. Yeah, go back and listen to it. But here's the subject, as I was saying earlier. This is a subject I was talking about how next year, as I was saying, we're having hopefully more new competitors coming up. And I was looking at some people. Like one example is, this is where I think really where you said to talk about how the division started to churn. This is Coley Amandi. Now, she was originally she earned a pro card as figure, and she's supposed to do some shows this year, but she has some issues, and then she changed coaches. And this is now, I think, if you look at it, this is a standard for physique. If you look at it, because she's still young, I think she's not even 30 yet, and her condition and her shape is just, you wouldn't think she was physique. If you look at it, she looks like she could be bodybuilding. And like I said, she's not.
And again, when we're talking about this, again, the conversation was built off of Dana Bailey and Julia.
Bitch, I did it for the Maltese. Feel like.
And here's the thing, that is a bodybuilder. That is not a women's physique competitor. Sorry, that is a women's bodybuilder. Look at her quads. That is not she's supposed to be women's physique.
Yes.
No, that is not women's physique, George.
She's got lats. She's got lats for days.
Yeah.
She said
it's like you're not supposed to have lats in physique.
Women's physique girl to you. Now, show me the picture, bro. Bring up the picture that you just had up.
Which one? This one here?
No, the girl who you just had posing. No, not that one. The other one.
That's the same one. You mean the same girl? You mean Coley?
This girl right there.
That's her.
That's women's bodybuilding. That is not women's physique. And again, Bob Cigarillo kept saying, the problem is the judging.
He's right.
That's the problem.
He's right.
And he said, what did he say, baby? He says, the last thing they should be judging is conditioning, right? Well, what did he say? Aesthetics is number one. And aesthetics is number one. Symmetry is two. Muscle is three.
And then there was
muscle separation 4, and then conditioning. But that's not how the judges are judging it. So when you get these girls who are looking at these girls you're pulling up, George, they're chasing after. They don't know what they're chasing after. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, because they just simply have not.
That right there is women's bodybuilding. That is not women's physique. Look at this.
Yeah, that's Big Jane. She was at the Titan show. That's Big Jane. She was at the same show that Tina. This is Big Jane. This is the girl that same show with you, and that's women's bodybuilding. And right. She's not too far different from Coley.
Oh, really?
And then another person I'm about to bring up here is Zama Benta.
Was that the girl?
No, that was Marilyn Yee. That Zama, I think Big Jane was like about 10th or 9th. And then you look at an example like this, like Zama Benta, who's number 3, right behind Natalia. She did both Texas and Tampa. And
this girl did Tina's show?
No, this is Zama. She did Texas and Tampa. And
Big Jane is the one who did the show with her.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. And you look at her, this is number 3 in women's physique at the Olympia.
Oh, really?
Yeah, number 3. And she, like I said again, her physique is just crazy. I mean, it's that video I have right here where she's walking at Tampa. I'm gonna see if I can find it. And you see, it's here. Her shoulders, her delts are just. She even take a minute when she competed in bodybuilding for half a minute. This is from when she was at Texas, the Texas pro just about a month or so ago, and you look at her. This is where the level where it has changed, where she has the size, she has conditioning. She could stand with someone like Ashley Jones, or even Angela Yo.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
They've
the
been
thing
guil- they've been guilty of this now for 24 years. Is they just simply are not sticking with the criteria that they're actually writing. I mean, this has been going on. This is going on for 2.5 decades now. That they still they're not following through with what they say they want versus what they're rewarding. They're just not.
and that's if you and Art, you're absolutely right. If you listen to what Bob said, he goes, these judges should have a box, a piece of paper in front of them, and they should be checking off. So when an athlete comes up to you, instead of just giving them some fucking kind of answer, you got a box that you checked off, like, well, your aesthetics weren't there, but you had good symmetry. Your this wasn't there. You can check off the box of each athlete, and then the athlete knows what they need to work on. But that's not what they do. I mean, like Christina Mendoza just posted, the perfect score. Well, no offense to all Christina Mendoza. I mean, not Christina Mendoza. Heather Hunter. She got a perfect score, but if you look at these scorecards, they're a fucking joke. At the end of the day, they are. Because you can't tell me that every judge, because my wife sat there and watched two judges argue in front of her as she was on stage about what they liked and don't like, and that was the promoter who was actually judging the show and another judge who was judging the show, and she's sitting there looking like, are these guys really arguing right now? And they were, because they couldn't get on the same page. And so that's the problem. If you give these judges a sheet of paper and says, these are the things you got to mark off for every athlete, because I'm a judge. That would be great to have that. Instead of I get a blank piece of paper and I get to write number 17, number 5, number blah, 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 who I think my top 5 are. Then I'm writing notes on, who I think the second call out is. It's very time consuming, and it's very confusing, because especially when you get to bikini and like figure and like wellness, because there's so many girls, I'm like, they all start running together. You know what I'm saying? But if you have these boxes for every athlete that you have to judge, it becomes easier for you, because you could okay, well, you didn't have this, but you had this. You didn't have this, but you had that. It becomes easier, but that's not what these judges do. They're just sitting there judging and just writing shit down and, writing numbers down. And if you ever looked at a scorecard, you'd be like, what? No judge out of what? Because even Bob Shigarillo said it best. He says, there's not one judge on the panel. If you have 5 judges, who are all going to agree about the same damn thing. They're not. They're not all going to agree about the same thing and what they look like. And the prime example was the Titan show. Because, it's like Steve Weinberger said on one of these deals, YouTubes, he says, you have to be at, I know people who sit there and watch the show on live stream and this, that, and other, but you actually have to be there to actually see what these athletes look like. Well, no offense and all, I've been at these shows, and I'm sitting there and I call bullshit, because I'm sitting there like, there's certain, it's just like they were talking about the guy I've always talking about, Samson Dua. Samson has the aesthetics, the flowy body, his conditioning, like Bob Shigarillo said, the only thing he was lacking was conditioning. He says, but when you're looking at an overall bodybuilder, he is what you want to see versus what they're judging for, where you could looking at like a Hadi Kupa or a Derek Langford, who's his current champion, and their conditioning's there, but they lack other things. It's just like they were talking about Kai and Phil. When Phil would always, or Kai would always beat Phil at the Arnold, but never could beat him at the Olympia, because he could never get his peak right at the Olympia that he did at the Arnold. And sometimes it was a mental deal with Kai, because Phil got in his head at the Olympia, so he threw him off. So it's all these entities that go into effect when it comes to judging these athletes. But when it comes to like Bob and this reel that you guys need to watch, when they're talking about women's physique in particular, the judges are doing a very bad job in sending the wrong message out to what women's physique, whether it was Bev or Bob or whoever created this thing, are sending the wrong message of what women's physique is supposed to be. right? Isn't that what he said?
Yeah,
He said
that's
the
just the thing.
judge.
It's just they don't.
He said the criteria which I have for this category is not what they're following.
They're not. They're
But
not. They're
yeah,
absolutely not.
I got a comment from him, War 2000. He says this. He says, "Speak your truth, Tina. Always glad to hear your opinion." Also, this is from Warrior 2000. It says Sarah Vilgus took things to the extreme the day she won the Olympia in 2020 up till now.
Yep.
The hard styrated glutes and conditioning. Yeah. And again, Warrior, he's not a fan of her. It says Isabel Terrell, Fit Rockstar, still airs on Wings of Strength because I haven't seen it back for a long time. Well, now they don't. The Wings of Strength have their own the Olympia channel. You can, you want to watch the old episodes of Olympia, you can watch on the Wings of Strength.
I don't know if
YouTube.
I don't know if she's with Wings of Strength anymore. We were talking about that yesterday. She was there in her shiny outfits and her high heel boots the last couple of days.
Right,
but I don't know if they know if she's with. Is Isabel still with Wings of Strength?
Not that I know.
Yeah, she did. Tina said she has seen her on there for a while, so I don't know if she's.
Yeah, because because they do the own thing now that the Olympia now to Jake owns the Olympia, they have the Olympia channel. They do the old stuff. Sometimes they have little live streams every so often, interviews, but she's not there because usually it'd be Alex or be Wendy Fatina. Because Wendy Fatina was there, she was doing the commentary, the night show. At one point, she kind of was talking to somebody and they had to mute them. So and that was crazy. You're doing this. Is the thing is. You're doing a professional show. You're there doing it live. You're talking to somebody, you can, I don't know, and then they're talking about stuff that I'm listening to them and say, wow, they could have got somebody better to do this job. I mean, they could have found somebody. I mean, shout out to my man, Rahiam says, this conversation is on fire. Thank you, brother. It says also, he said, say you mean on fire. Yeah, I got you. But yeah, cause I want to pull up some pictures. How this is from my man Roy. As you know, he has his own YouTube. I mean, IG and YouTube. He also posts stuff where he posts some pictures. Like if you look at some of these women now, how right here. This is a good example here. Like if you look at this is a picture from Sarah from last year's Olympia, and you have here Angela from the Rising Phoenix. Other than maybe the size, is not much different.
Well, but bear in mind, you're going to a page. I mean, even right there, it's in the title, WBB Edits.
Yeah,
he does quite a bit of editing. So are those actually the original pictures that are put side by side, or has there been tweaking going on?
Well, if it's the original pictures, I can I might give them benefit of doubt, but yeah, you can some ways you are getting that close look association. I've even posted that. Y'all seen that I posted where I took pictures, and I still got some. I'm gonna pull those up where I took pictures and I made comparisons. Where let me pull them up real quick.
Well, yeah, it's like if you go look back in history when they originally created this. I mean, you had the likes of Jillian Reveille and others who were being rewarded with the top spots for this division because it was supposed to be, and figure was very different back then. Between it. But then, just from my perspective of it, then the New York Pro happened with Juliana Malacarne. And she came in with a whole lot of muscle. Way more muscle than Jillian or anybody else. And she got the top spot. And people were asking the question then. They were saying, wait a second, you said you don't want all this. So why is Juliana getting the top spot?
Well,
like that.
I remember talking to her, and she literally said she had to stop training. She
right.
literally had to stop training to stop putting on muscle for a long time in order to compete in women's physique.
They just it's like the phrase, the left hand doesn't know what the right hand's doing.
Yep.
It's like you have you have the higher up saying that they want one thing, and those are in the criteria lists that they are still over there. They're still over on NBC News Online as to what they supposedly want for these divisions. But then the judges who are rewarding, in some cases, the polar opposite. And again, this has been going on. This has been going on now for 24 years.
Yep.
Ever since the 1999 Miss Olympia and the 2000s, when supposedly they were wanting changes, it's like, okay, well then, why are you rewarding the people who shouldn't be getting this based on the criteria and based on the reforms that you guys say that you want? Why is this happening? So it's
Again,
like,
like I said, you guys will find it very intriguing to listen to Bob Chigarillo. And this is the guy who is the MC for all the biggest shows in the country, who sit there and says, which I was surprised at him calling out the judges, sitting there saying, this is on the judges. It's not on the athletes. It's not on anybody. It's on the judges who are making these bad decisions and not being consistent on what they say the class should really be about. And he's talking about women's figure. He's talking about women's physique. He's not talking about women's bodybuilding, because women's bodybuilding is just like, and even to a certain extent, when they got rid of women's bodybuilding, what did they say that was a problem with women's bodybuilding? It was too extreme. It was too extreme and not appealing to. And if you listen to what they're saying, like when you listen to Isabella and what Bob's saying, they're saying like it's so unobtainable that our sport is not a mainstream sport for that very reason. Because the looks are so unobtainable that it's not appealing to most people.
well, yeah, it's like you trace the history of this. You go from 1985 to the Miss Olympia with a sold out crowd at the Felt Forum in Chicago, and it's like there are no other women's divisions other than female bodybuilding at this time, and there's no Olympia weekend either. The men's and women's Olympias were held totally separate from each other. I mean, that was like, it's still a record. Fast forward to 1999, when you get in the Kim Chevesky Nichols era, and the size that they had, the proportions that they had, they almost canceled the Miss Olympia in 1999 because the advanced ticket sales were so low for that. It's like, as long as it, so.
And the thing is again, it's the thing is that they don't stick to the criteria we keep saying. And
They don't.
now even physique is starting to evolve. That's why you're seeing women moving up from physique to women's bodybuilding, from figure to physique, because as they grow and develop, like I talked about the lady I talked about earlier, from the French Canadian lady, she done 5 shows in figure, and she has done her last show just this past weekend in women's physique. She done her first show in physique in the UK, got third. Then did her second show in Daytona, got third. And I don't know if she can still compete at the Olympian figure. She might as well. That should already get your qualification. Then why not? You don't want to waste it. And she might just take the year off, come back, and come back edition. I mean, it's just it's crazy. Here we got a comment from a man. Stefan Prey, he says, Bob is a boss, right? Well, like I said, he's been around for the game for a long time. He understands the sport. He knows so much about it, and he knows a lot of the big names and the high rollers. And if, like I said, the complaint about women's bodybuilding, yes, it was like any sport, it was evolving. No one tells the guys to stop getting bigger, because men are more acceptable. You can look at guys like Big Romney. You look at guys like back in the day, what's his name? I remember that Spalding guy. He dead now.
Marcus
I remember him.
Nassau Body.
Paul Dillette.
Dillette.
Those guys were huge. And then you had guys like Ronnie Coleman.
But they never won.
Yeah. But now, it's just I think they try to curtail it. That's why, this year Big Robbie's not competing.
He's sick. But here's the problem that I have. So, prime example, yesterday, there's a guy, Dickens, who competed yesterday in classic physique and men's bodybuilding and placed in both. How is that possible? And he's a pro. He beat me, actually, and he beat me in bodybuilding. I'm like, how? And he's like tiny dude. I was the biggest guy by 15 pounds in my class. Everybody else is like 212 guys versus, open guy. But again, at the end of the day, it's like, how do you compete in classic physique and then come over to men's bodybuilding and you can place in men's bodybuilding? I didn't even know that you could. I got to go read the rules because I didn't even know we can do that as pros. Like, That's like me saying, excuse me, I'm gonna do, men's bodybuilding, but I'm also gonna do classic physique. And he
Well,
did both and placed in
well,
both. I'm like, what the fuck?
they do give you a pass when you're doing masters. When you do masters, you compete. When I've seen women doing.
That's the problem, George. It shouldn't matter. If you're a masters or open, you shouldn't be able. He couldn't do it in open, so why should you be able to do a masters? And that lies the problem.
Because they treat you like amateurs. Because that's
Again,
how.
and you know the reason why. We all know the reason why. Because he paid for both classes.
Yes, because he paid for both. Like I interviewed a lady a while back, Stephanie Herrera. She won she won her pro card in actually two classes, two of them in physique and one in figure. That's three classes. I mean, it's like she actually two divisions and two classes in one division. How she got a pro card and she won it in, I think, in women's over 40 for physique, and I think women's over 30 in physique, and she won her pro card in figure. We gotta hear my man. My man KLA's King.
KLA.
Yes.
How you guys doing?
Hey.
Whatever they going by. He has multiple identities.
Right.
And also we got a comment. This is from Warrior says, right, Hampton, there are pro elite athletes. Of course they do. And also Raheem says, Keith and Tina spits the facts. And also this Raheem says, not all pros know what they are talking about. And that's true. Some of them just compete. They don't know this.
Well, when you're in the fire, you're sitting here scratching your head because you're sitting there like, like at the end of the day, as an open and a master competitor, and I'm like, no offense and all, I was like, if I'm paying the same as an open competitor to have a pro card, I wanted to be treated the same. And if not, and if you're gonna treat me as a amateur, then why give a pro card out for the master's class? Why don't it? But again, it's big business for the IFBB. We get it, because not only are you making money off of a pro card, but you're making money off of them entering a master's show, whether it's Worlds, whether it's Master, whatever the case may be. And then, like yesterday, I made $250. Woo! I'm going out to fucking Applebee's now. But again, at the end of the day, it's like I'm paying to play. The whole goal is not to pay to play. The whole goal is to qualify for the Master Olympia because that's where the big check is. But again, it's I don't understand how you treat a Masters athlete any different than a open athlete when we're both having to pay the same amount of money to get a pro card. Makes no sense.
It's about anything. It's about the money.
It is about the money.
Get the money from the Masters competitors, and then they take that money and use that for your prize money. It's not much. I mean, I remember one lady said she won $500. That was like maybe how much she paid and whatever she got back. I mean, I know everybody wants to get the big money because you know what?
Oops. Well, yeah. Before you go to Applebee's with that much money, gas up your car first. then if you have any money left over,
I was driving through
Applebee's.
As I was coming through to Reno, at one part of I don't even know what the hell I was. Gas was $6.69.
Good Lord!
Oh my God!
I told my people back in Kansas, I said, don't ever bitch about our $2.95 gas ever again.
It's $2.85 here in North Carolina.
I said it was $6.95. I posted on my story. I was like,
I saw it. I saw it. I mean, I was looking. I was watching the I said, "What the hell? Are you gassing a truck?" I mean, I understand. If you're, I mean, that gas better make my car fly, not fly like good in the sky.
I half a tank in there, and that still cost me $40.
Oh wow, good Lord! But folks, I'm gonna do this for a second while we have my man Big Keith here. Because as a shout out to him, I love this man. He really dropped me some game on some stuff. I learned a lot from him. His wife, a lovely lady, a beautiful lady. And I really want to give him a shout out because I did post it on my social media. And also, I want to give this. This is something he posted. And as you know, one of my things is being. I'm always aware of my surroundings at all times. As my master Raza Guru taught me. And this is a little video, so it's gonna be a good while, but listen to it, and it's really touching.
Again at the Legion Fest. So yesterday we started with the open class, and we placed out of 23 guys. We placed in the top 12, which was good. I think I was 11th or 12th or something like that. It was kind of a practice run for the Masters class today. Masters over 40, which I'm 51, but over 40. And, started off rough today. We looked at the schedule. They told us it was at a certain time. They moved up some events. I was literally at the hotel. Tina went to the show to buy tickets and to check where they were at. And I get a phone call saying I needed to get my ass there ASAP. Then my class was going on. I had 5 minutes to get there. I had to jump in coach's car, fly, breaking all kinds of laws to get to the show, pre-judging. But we made it. Ran down 4 flights of stairs, jumped into coach's BMW, and got to the show, breaking all kinds of laws to get there, but we made it. They held the show, got on stage, and did really well. Went back to the finals this evening and placed in the top 5. I was 5th, which I'm happy. The goal was to win, but after not competing for 2 years, and, I got to put things in perspective. A lot of people said, a year ago, you weren't even walking. And here I am making a video about competing. So that's a blessing all in itself, and I'm grateful for that. I had a great surprise with my good friend, Larry, and his wife coming to the show, which was a complete surprise to me. Deonna and Larry came here. I walked in, and they were sitting in the front row to support me. And I was, at that point in time, I was emotional and everything else. But it was unbelievable to have them here to support me and love me. And like Larry and a whole bunch of other people has told me, a year ago, you were not even walking. A year ago, I didn't even know if I would ever be able to compete again. And here I am on stage, competing again. I placed 5th, and it was a tough group of guys. 2 guys from Brazil, I think another guy from the UK. Great group of guys. I'll post pictures of all of us after the competing, off stage. And I wasn't bitter. I wasn't upset because, again, at the end of the day, the blessing to be able to be on stage with these guys that are very good guys that have been competing year in and year out the last couple of years, and me stepping back on stage and being the oldest one in my group was a blessing and awesome. At the exact same time, I got some great news before the finals, and I was emotional wreck right before the final. And I'm trying to hold it together as I make this video. My son, Cody, who has busted his ass at the University of Hawaii for the last 2 years, bet on himself, came on as a walk-on after leaving South Camp Prep School, went to Hawaii as a walk-on, had the ability to be on a scholarship, and today was rewarded a full-ride scholarship for his duration of the time at the University of Hawaii. And I found this out before I went on stage, and at that point in time, it didn't even matter where I placed because, I'm happy to be on stage. I'm happy to be competing. My goal is to get to Tokyo to master Olympia, which is still in the plans. I'm planning on doing a show here in the near future, but right now, to celebrate his success, to celebrate my wife's success as getting back on stage and placing in the top 4 in her class, which was awesome because she hadn't been there for a long time, was great. Chris Mims put on an unbelievable show at the Legions Fest. I can't wait to come back here next year and compete again. Hopefully they'll have women's bodybuilding for anybody out there who wants to sponsor women's bodybuilding, as Chris said, all he needs is a sponsor. He's all in to bring women's bodybuilding here. That being said, I have to thank a lot of people. And sorry, this is a long-winded video, but it's been a long journey for me and an emotional journey for me. And try and hold it together. Again, when your life is almost taken away from you and you find yourself depressed and not knowing if you're ever going to be able to do the things that you love, again, it's tough. Sorry. But as my spiritual advisor, Rick, once told me, you can be a victim or a victor. And I chose to be a victor. It's not about how I place, it's about the journey. Bob Cigarello said it best to me. Just to see me on stage compared to where I was a year ago, as everybody said, is a blessing. And that's what I take from this journey. There's so many people I have to thank. My mother-in-law, Linda Wilson, who was amazing, my backbone through all the stuff I went through, all the surgeries, all the sicknesses, the COVID, the surgeries, me not being able to walk, me not being able to wipe my butt, being in the hospital after my back fusion, after my wrist surgery, after my elbow surgery, after getting COVID, after getting rare bacteria infection that kept me in the hospital for another 7 days. She was there. To my wife, I'll leave her last. Excuse me. Sorry. I didn't know it was another thing. My children, my son Cody, Keenan, Kansas, Keaton, those four, kept me pushing and driving every single day. Being a leader to them, showing them that perseverance, determination can get you wherever you want. And today, Cody getting the scholarship proved that factor that I did the right thing. Hopefully, as I'm doing a good thing as a father and leading my kids in the right direction. To my Royal Crest family and Wayne and Larry's family, everybody at that bar who, sorry, who even when I was not around, asked for me every day, prayed for me every day, came and supported me and my wife every day. The ones, Maurice and Melissa and everybody out there. I can't thank you guys enough for coming out and supporting me and Tina. You guys have been unbelievable, and to have Larry just pop up with his wife was amazing. Jesse, I know it put a lot of stress on you by having to run the place all the way to Larry Scav. I know we've been gone for 2 weeks. That supported Tina and me on this journey. Thank you guys. To my training partner, Bruce Coates, who pushed me every day. And even though the days where I doubted myself, didn't want to push myself, didn't want to be there, he pushed me every day. To Crunch Fitness, who supported me every day in the gym. And, they're our family. I appreciate you guys as well. To Mike, to Rachel, to Bill, to Cimarron, to Dennis, to Ben, Frank, all the people, Robert, my opposing coach, to all those who supported me through this journey and pushed me to be the very best. And they constantly reminded me of this. It's not about where you place. It's not about winning or losing. It's about you just being where you're at and accomplishing what you're doing, because these people were the ones, Jeff, Lynn, these people, my mom, and Alana, Elaine, these were the people who kept me motivated, kept praying for me, telling me that it's not about where you place, because they seen, these are the people who took me to rehab, took me to physical therapy, took me out when I was in my lowest times after all the shit that I've been through in the last 2 years, that I thought I never, ever would get back to being where I'm at now. Thank you guys, all you guys. From the bottom of my heart, my softball girls, who keep me young and keep me on my toes, my Lauren Tummer girls. Miss you guys. See you soon. To my coach, Mel Specco, who is an inspiration to me and my wife, and I would literally not be where I'm at if it wasn't for this woman, nor would my wife, Tina, be where we're at right now. She changed us in 4.5, 5 months to be the best athletes that we can possibly be and bring the best package that I've ever brought to the stage, honestly, ever. Gave me the confidence, gave me the guidance, gave Tina the guidance to get back in the winner's circle with us, first or fifth place, fourth place or fifth place or whatever. We got back in the winner's circle and we're back and we're planning on getting better. To my wife, Tina, she has been the backbone for me. 11 years strong. Next month would be 11 years strong. And I could not ask for a better wife support system than this woman, period. She has pushed herself. She has pushed me, even though she thought it was crazy at times about competing again. She pushed me to want to be better. She pushed me to be better. She put a lot of responsibility on her shoulders for our family. And I am forever indebted and grateful to her for that. She's an amazing athlete. She is the future of this women's bodybuilding sport, as far as I'm concerned. And us having Melanie back in our corner, who people don't understand, she does chemo. She almost died, not to put her business out there. She's been through a lot, and she has drove from California to Kansas. She's come to Kansas twice for us. She's here with us at our hotel right now. She drove from California to Reno to be with us, brought her dog. She has had our back 125%, and I cannot be any more grateful to that woman, nor can Tina, for what she has brought back into our lives that we've been missing, because she was Tina's coach before she got sick and we had to part ways, and now she's back in our life, and now she's my coach as well. And I can't ask for a better coach and a better person to guide me and her on our future endeavors in this sport. I just want to thank everybody who's followed me, who's followed my wife Tina in our journey, who supported us and loved us. We appreciate you. Beastified Jim, thank you for making me a part of your family, and I look forward to our future endeavors together. Just everything. I appreciate all you guys, and I know this is a 13-minute, almost 15-minute video, but I had to make it to show people and tell people how much I appreciate all that they've done for me and Tina. So again, at the end of the day, I want to thank you guys for just loving and supporting us. We'll be back home soon, and they take the next couple of days off and have some family time and relax. But again, we would not be here without all the people that I mentioned. And if I didn't mention you, you know who you are, who's loved us and supported us through this whole entire journey. And we look forward to seeing everybody and celebrating with everybody when we get back, and then getting back to work. So I want to thank you guys all. I love you guys. I couldn't ask for my entire life. I made a post that all I wanted was a family to love me and support me, and I now have that with all the people that I mentioned in this video and some, and I'm just blessed to be where I'm at. And the guys that I competed against today, every single one of them, they were freaking awesome. We took pictures afterwards, we hugged each other, and that's all I can ask for. So again, at the end of the day, that's what this sport is about: camaraderie, friendship, meeting new people, creating new relationships. And that's what I did today. And I'm super excited that I'm back and that I have the ability to get better, and I will get better, and hopefully see everybody at Master Nationals in Tokyo next year. You guys have a good night. Thank you for listening. I appreciate you guys all. God bless, and I love you. Peace.
Thanks, George. Thanks for
That's
playing
awesome.
that. Thanks.
Yeah,
That's
that was
awesome.
good. That
Brother,
was
you don't
good.
have to,
Yeah.
but my saying, you never have to. You owe me no thanks because you really has helped me. You educated me. And folks, I'm going to do something. And it's something I said I was going to do. As you know, one of my sticks is always this stick where, I often said this, like every time I put this picture, you know, I get jealous. I never get jealous. It's me playing. I'm playing, but I love this man. But this is what I'm going to do. This is no longer my stick. I love my big brother. I'm not going to pick on him anymore, and that is done. That is. I still will put a picture of Andrea, and I am gonna fawn over her. Oh, but I will not degrade my big brother anymore. Even though
Hey,
he has
you
had my
know,
girl. You know what?
you know,
I gotta let that go.
the
I
thing
gotta let
is,
that go.
I love being on the show with you guys. Um, it helps keep me sane. It lets me vent a little bit about things I like and I don't like. Um, and I'm not scared to voice my opinion because it's just my opinion. But it's nice to hear from Art and KL, a guy who's new in the sport, and George. Like I said about people who don't know you, and it pisses me off because the sport in a whole needs somebody like you, and needs somebody like Art, guys who know the history, guys who support the sport, who actually appreciate and understand what we go through on a daily basis. Men and women. And again, when you're on stage with the guys, win or lose, the great thing about Tina was like, I wish, and this is sad because she said that she goes, like when we all got off stage yesterday and we took pictures and I posted them all on my IG, she goes, I wish the women were like you guys. And they're not, and that's the problem that we have when we talk about this channel. Like we all got off stage, win, lose or draw, the guys got off stage, we hugged each other, we took pictures, we hung out for a little bit, and then we went our separate ways. And Tina's like, I wish the girls were like that, but they're not. And that's sad, because I posted a picture a long time ago of Cedric McMillan, and unfortunately, the guy who called me Scuba Steve, Sean Roden, and Cedric both did this show, um, and I dedicated this show to them because after they did this show, they both passed away. Cedric
Wow.
passed away 2 years ago. Sean passed away after doing the Legion show. They literally died, because they pushed themselves and didn't listen to their bodies. And so when I made this video and thinking about, sorry.
That's all right. Yeah.
That's all right, man. It's okay.
It's good that men sometimes got to cry. Because here's the thing about with us men, there's a brotherhood. And we bond, especially it'd be battle and competition. We can bond. Women are a different species from us. We're within the same. That's what I said. I say we're different genders, but still sometimes the mindset is different species. Their mentality sometimes we see one woman, it's not about competition, but it's not always friendly in some cases. I like the examples that we talk about Natalia, Quayle, and
Sarah.
and Sarah Vilgas, how
Yeah.
they act, how they behave, how they get cat at each other. How Sarah called out Natalia about posting some stuff and having a fake IG. There was also, I think, good example that was like, I think it was animosity between Beth Francis and Corey Everson. But end up now they're older and mature now. They have squashed that. It's just when men get together and we talk each other, sometimes we can fight and then we friends.
Iron sharpens iron.
Yeah. And that's the thing is that
and when I thought about this, and understanding, Cedric, me and Rue were really close, and Sean, it gave me the name Scuba Steve
Wait.
George is always that George is using now. And remember, and both of those guys literally passed away after doing this show because they pushed their bodies to the limits and then doing something that they loved. And Cedric was the epitome of this sport of being an ambassador. And I posted something the other day. I said we need more of that. And the guys that I competed on stage with yesterday, it was amazing. It was this amazing feeling because it's not about winning or losing. You know, it's like Bob Shigrillo, and he said this to me. He goes, "You're winning just being here. You just being here, you already won." And so I can't take, oh, I was in fifth or I was in first. It doesn't matter. Just being here, and like I tell people, 10 toes down, 6 feet up, it's a blessing, you know. So, and coming on the show with you guys every Monday is awesome to me because I get to, you know, get some guy time and talk about some stuff we like to talk about and shoot the shit with Rashid and Warrior and all the guys that come on the show. I appreciate it. So thank you guys. I appreciate it.
You're
Like I
welcome.
said,
And that was a great
All
video.
good, man.
yeah, because you know what? That's why I do this. Maybe I don't get enough guys on here because you know I'm a fan of the women, but I do. Maybe I want me reach out to more guys and come on here and talk to share their story because this is about giving y'all a platform. Like I said again, I try to get more for the women, but they're you know it's up to them if they want to you know reach out and do interviews or if they want to talk or come on here. I really like. I was hoping to get like we had this some yesterday and you know, and Art was there, and we had Bev. I was hoping to get Eunice on, but there was some issues. When Lori comes on, you know, that's great. When we have Mary Ann, that's great. Remember that one week we had a couple of people like Janine and some others come on here, and why get you know guys like you, Keith, and guys like you know Jeremy and KL and Raheem and all the others that come on here really talk about this sport because we are fans and we really want to give the sport recognition and respect it deserves. People don't understand it, and it's not the sport that it's not the typical sport. Like you know, you played football for a long time, you did other sports, and it's a sport that it needs that recognition. I think it says again, like, it deserves it. And these women, they do put more risk of it because they're going to get the hard end of the stick
Yeah.
out of it because you know what? Like people like Tina. Tina, like I said, she's a lovely lady. She has a great physique. She has great potential. I think she could probably get an Olympic qualification next year. You just put it on the right show. I
Yep.
hope we do have that show. Legions, they should add it. You know, and the thing is, I said there's guys out there, and I know y'all want to be like you don't want nobody to know that you're a fan of it. But here's the thing: is if you are a fan, truly a fan of the sport, stop worrying about whatever other people got to say. It's like Tim Wall says, it's none of the damn business what you do and how you live your life. If you want to support this sport, if you want to, if you feel like there's not enough shows, especially for women's bodybuilding, talk to the promoters. You can get enough guys who got deep pockets and say, you know what's 20 grand? We get 5, 10 of us together. We can put 10 grand enough to maybe cover up the maybe have nice prize money from these ladies. You know, it's about recognition. And this man here, his passion. He went through hell and back, and he still hold his head high when he went through that hell. Shakespeare said that a man thing when has placed upon you, hold your head high, and that's what he did. And I love this man. I love this. But if I see him one day, I'm gonna say like my dear brother Lucy, and I'm gonna give her, you know. And I'll be like that episode of in Color Purple. No. You know, I'm back. You know, I'm a fool. But this is why I do these stuff like this. Like you know, that's why we talk about conferences like this because there's so much risk but little reward. We have your comments here, and this is from you know. This is from Shout to Man Warrior. He says, WBB Edits is the truth and a friend of mine. He loves women's bodybuilding and he's passionate about his edit picks. Yeah, true. I agree with you. That's Roy.
Yeah, I think I'm sorry. I just wanted to say
Go ahead.
something real quick. Nah,
Go ahead.
what I'm coming. What Keith was sharing, on the video, I think it relates to everybody. Like it resonates with me. I'm not like I'm not gonna say I'm a fan like that, but you know, like what you said that you kind of recognize your blessings because we don't recognize our blessings. It could be worse, you know.
Yeah.
So I really appreciated that you like the person like it was your coach that told you that. Like, are you still here? Yeah, he was telling you that. I think to remind you, because a lot of times we forget. Like we might not, we might think like, oh man, we complaining about things, but it could be worse. You still here. You know,
Mhm.
congratulations on your.
I got a guy at the gym, and when I'm having bad days, his name is Keenan. He's awesome. He says, "You got 5 minutes to get it out, and then we're done with it. Then we're moving on." And he's the one that gave me the quote. He says, "Bro, you're 10 toes down and 6 feet up. Take that as your blessing. But you got your 5 minutes. Get it out, and then we move on." So,
Also, congratulations to young Cody getting his scholarship. Congratulations to him, young man. I hope you have a future. Maybe might see you in the NBA someday, or whatever you want to do. There's other basketball forums
thank you,
out there.
George. Appreciate that.
Also, this is fun, man. Warrior says IFB is always moving the goalpost with their judging criteria guidelines. It's like a seasonal type of thing with
Absolutely.
their judging when their rules and mandates. Like I said again, like this was really was when we talk about the up and comers, but this is where this affects a lot of these up and comers. How you think about it right now, you have people like Chelsea who's not competing this year. What she's going to bring next year, she has to really move up. She's won a couple of Olympic qualifications, but she took the year off to grow and develop. You look at like how Janine took some time off, and she really looked pretty good. I think she should have got fifth at that show. I know, no offense to Gabrielle, but I think Janine was in her best condition maybe since 2 or 3 years ago.
Yep.
And it's just this is a sport where you need to recognize true talent when it's there in front of you. I know everybody wants to go who's popular, who's shot. Like let's say about Zama Bento, a person who did 2 shows, he's already qualified for the Olympia. You could step back and you could just sit and just enjoy your qualification. You don't have to jump in. I know you try to cut down the numbers in your division because there's at least uh, nearly 20 qualifications for women's physique, while women's bodybuilding just barely got 13 or 14. And it's frustrating to see that no one gives any of y'all the respect and the recognition you deserve. I mean, you always gonna think about bodybuilding, you're gonna think about Arnold because and him, what he's doing. He's one of the biggest stars of bodybuilding. He's the one that put bodybuilding on the map, gave it a place, created a show. But he's not giving the same respect to the divisions that need to be there. It really needs to
Well,
be.
and here's the crazy thing, George, not to cut you off. Do you know how many people came up to Tina this weekend? It's like, "Are you competing?" And Tina's like, "They don't have women's bodybuilding." And they're like, and the question, and every person, and I'm not going to exaggerate when I say this, like, why? They were looking at her like, "Man, you're in amazing shape. Why don't we see you on stage?" And to have to say, "Well, because they don't have women's bodybuilding," and people are like, "Why?" They don't even know why. I mean, the promoter is sitting here and say it's the money thing, but at the exact same thing, is it really a money thing? When you have every other class but one class, is it really a money thing? You got fitness, you got wellness, you got in masters, and you got masters in women's physique, you got masters in women's bikini, you got masters in women's wellness and open. I'm saying both classic physique, bodybuilding, but you don't have women's. And that's my problem with not necessarily Chris Mims, because this is I know he's like Art says, since he started this thing, it's grown bigger, and he may eventually have women's bodybuilding. But when you look at something like the Arnold Sports Festival, who has pole dancing and all these other things, but yet you take out women's physique, you take out women's figure, you take out women's bodybuilding. How are you a sports festival? It's like picking and chooses what you want in the Olympics, which they kind of done to a certain degree, but not that bad. You know what I'm saying? And it's one of those things. It's like, how do you just pluck one of the things out and leave everything else in? And you got my wife walking around and sitting here saying, "I would love to be in this show, but they don't have it." And when the promoter looks at you and says, "Well, if I can find," it's like, how can you find a sponsor for every? And I understand Whoop. I don't know what the thing is with Whoop Pack and Wellness. Maybe I don't know what it is, because the wellness girls seem to be making more money than some of the other categories. I don't know. But at the exact same time, when you look at athlete and says, well, you guys can find me a sponsor that can give me 20 grand, I'll put you in the show. That's a kind of a tough pill to swallow when you got every other category in the show but women's bodybuilding.
Yeah, that's it. It's a double standard. It's about pick and choose. It's like we got here comment from Man Warrior. He says, IFB plays politics in order to make things attentive and valuable in any way they can. Also, he posts this because he's not a fan of Sarah Vegas. He don't like Sarah Vegas. He says this: Sarah Vegas is pushed as this headliner and ambassador for women's physique, and since she has Talamania in her back pocket, she gets special treatment and sponsors that she benefits off of. Well, she don't have that because she's rich. She's married. Her husband's rich.
And you have to. He has to understand too. There's not a and we're it's like my coach said today. It's like does he I need a sugar daddy because Sarah she flies around the private jets. But here's the thing with Sarah, I can say, and I'm not a fan of Sarah's whatsoever, one way or another. But Sarah or her husband, whoever put their money where their mouth is. I mean, there were all those girls that did the Texas Pro. 10 of them walked away with $1,000, right? At least $1,000. So even though they were spending money to get there, she put her money where her mouth is. Just like they did the Triple O and the girls did all that stuff. Again, at the end of the day, if those girls can do that with the money that they make, why can't the IFBB or somebody out there say, okay, we understand there's not very many shows stateside for these girls to do. And I hope, and I am hoping and praying after seeing Jessica and Alex at this show, and because I looked at them and I said, and via my words was like, this is the perfect venue for you guys to bring women's bodybuilding.
Sure.
I told him that.
Sure.
Yeah.
I said it's an expo. It's a well organized and ran show. The expo is huge. It's a mini version of the Arnold. And I said, if the Arnold took it out of his show, but you guys plugged it into your show, that makes your show a little bit more appealing than the Arnold to me. The Arnold's always going to be the Arnold because it's been around forever. But again, at the end of the day, if you can think about it, if you had 19 athletes at the show the week before at the Titan show, which Tamer already said he's bringing it back because he didn't know it was going to be that big or that popular. And then those girls say, well, instead of just going home, I can jump on a flight or jump in the car and drive up the road to Reno to a show, and you have, let's say, 14 or 15 girls at this show. Why not? You know what I'm saying? It makes the show just better because now you're the Legion Sports Festival, like the Arnold Sports Festival. Now you have something that the Arnold doesn't have, and that's women's bodybuilding.
And that'd be great because you know what? A lot of ladies, especially since it's a show closer out to the West.
Yes.
Because there's not a lot other than the Triple O now. Well, you can't so much count the Rising Phoenix because it's invitation. And then you have this show, the Titan. I know ladies who tell me, say, George, I wish I had a show close to the West. One lady I know, Andrea Sowers, she says, Andrea Sowers, she says she hated that she missed out because she was going through some issues herself medically. She hated that she missed this show in Anaheim because now we have a show where she lives in California.
Well, think about it, Boswell. She wouldn't have went to the UK probably if she knew that this. And here's the thing, it had to be a big deal because Tamer's exact words, and I will quote him as saying, "Me and Jake we basically decided because there wasn't enough women in women's bodybuilding at the Olympia that we made an exception to the rule to allow this year's women to compete." Because remember, me, you, and I was like, when Heather said, well, this is for this year, we're like, no, it's not. It's for next year. So clearly, when we always say the powers that be have the control to do whatever they want, clearly we now know they have the power to do whatever the hell they want. And they made it so that the classic physique guys, the women's fitness girls, and the women bodybuilders have one more chance to get their Olympia qualifications, and they did. And it was smart. And it was genius because, guys, I'm going to tell you, I was at that show, and that show in LA was jam-packed. And I don't even think Tamer knew it was going to be that popular because it wasn't very much advertised. It wasn't, we had talked about it, but we didn't think it was. I didn't think it was going to be that big. And when you got 19 girls in bodybuilding, 19, that says a lot. And his exact words was, because of the numbers, it will be back next year. And I'm guaranteeing you guys, if they had 19 girls this year, it's probably going to be like 25 girls next year, at least, because it's stateside. You don't have to fly over to Europe. You can save your money. It's, flying to LA is not that expensive. And you're at a destination place. Take your community. I'm not sure Boswell would have took her kids to Disneyland.
She probably would, because I think what made the Orlando show so popular, the Olympia Orlando show, because the venue was closer. You had Disney World down the road. You had Universal Studios. You have places. If you had a family, you can go somewhere. And with this show, because you're not too far from Disneyland, it's something you can do. Vegas, as I said again, it's not a family friendly city.
And here's the thing, here's the thing about the Legion show, and even Tamer show. Every kid that walked in, I have a 3-year-old son. They gave him toys. Like at the Tamer show, they gave him like little clappers. My son's still running around playing with the goddamn things. The guy at the door had a box of toys, and these kids got to pick like 3 or 4 toys. And then you got to the Legion show. They had these. My son spent the whole damn entire time. Even when I went on stage, he finally fell asleep because there's those damn jumper things, the little jumpy bouncy houses. They had like 5 or 6 of them there. So it's a kid-friendly atmosphere. So when you have shows like that, it's not only it's a kid-friendly atmosphere. So you got the jumpy houses, you got the stickers, you got the toys. And again, if you got 2 shows like that back to back, where you can bring your family and your friends and have a good time, food and all kinds of stuff going on, it's a perfect double deal. So you can do Titan, and then you can come to Reno and do Reno. And again, like they say, Reno's kind of different. They say it's a mini Vegas. I don't really get it. But again, that's the exact same place. The Sports Fest, this show is a family, kid-friendly atmosphere, which makes it even great. So,
yeah, because I know they used to call it the smallest, biggest city in the world, because it's kind of like it's somewhere far from Vegas. It's like off Broadway if you do Vegas, and that will work because again, if the guy can get promoters who can put, like I said again, there's guys out there, guys. If you watch this live stream, man, I know some of you guys got deep pockets. You can pay for sessions. If you can go do this, do that, you can get at least 5, 10 of you is good enough. You can put together a little, approach the promoter of the Legion show and say, hey, we got somebody want to invest into this. We got maybe, let's go a little more than, I can say $40,000. So we can put up the prize, put up the sanction fees, the prize money, and also get us a name where they can be like, who lives right there in Nevada? Iris Kyle. You can make a trophy. They had that little superhero trophy, but for women's bodybuilding, have their own trophy. How the Texas Pro, they had that trophy with Sarah. Iris Kyle or Linda Murray, maybe Iris probably the best, and have a trophy designed for her with her image for women's bodybuilding. They also put up some side prize money like best poser, most muscular. Those things would be a incentive for a lot of competitors to jump on that show. Because you think about it, I might not win in the top 5, but then I might get this little side money if I was best poser or most muscular, like how the Rising Phoenix was doing. Used to have the car, but they took that out because Jake is, really trying to save money and the cost, everything like that. Those things would be great. Just needs you guys out there to get, like my mama said, either get off the pot or piss. And said again, don't be afraid of what people say about you. Tell them it's none of your damn business what I do. This is my money. This is something I like. I love. I want to invest into it because I want to see this division. I've been a fan of this division for a long time. I wish I could do it. Honestly, I wish I could. But like I said, look at my surroundings.
Well, and the great thing is Mel was here, Alex was here, Jessica was here, and I know Mel said that she was going to talk to Jake about the show because Melanie and Jake are really good friends. And they had the female muscle channel for a long time as business partners forever. But it's one of those things where I think, like I said, I found it very interesting to see Jessica and Alex here from Wings of Strength, and I was like, I just kept raising my brow. I'm like, why are they here? And Jessica's exact word, Alex's exact words was, we want to check it out, see what it's about. So hopefully, because we know that Jake has deep pockets, that, and my, again, I'm going to say this to you guys. I said, this is the perfect venue for you guys to have women's bodybuilding. I said, it's the perfect venue for you to set up a booth, for you guys to support women's bodybuilding, because I know there was a lot of people in there that approached Tina. And I said, even the lady from the Legion Sports Fest that sold their apparel gave her a free jacket because she's like, I'm sorry that they don't have women. She goes, and it's kind of a shitty deal that, you're the only you're the only class excluded from a show like that. Kind of sucks. And I can say that, even being a male competitor, that it kind of sucks. It's like, why not? You have everybody else here. Why not?
We have a comment here from a man, Wartime says, I appreciate when women invest their money to help their division classes, women's physique and women's bodybuilding. Andrea, Whitney, and Sydney created the triple O for the ladies. Yes, we appreciate that. And also, he's picking on me. He says, George, have a drink, chill out, George. Over Andrea, we need to have a pastor to come pray for peace for your nerves over this Keith and Andrea hugging image. It's gone, brother.
You just got to make sure that, because, man, you got to make sure. I'm worried that, Andrea, I keep seeing these videos. I hope that she yields to her words of coming in shape, because I seen Angela Yo's pictures. Holy shit, is she getting better?
I mean, it's gonna be like I said. I'm still a fan, and I think you have told me before, when Andrea's on, she's on.
Yeah.
I think Angela might have peaked too soon for this. Just the win at the Rising Phoenix. This is the Olympia.
Well, and again, the one thing that I can say that Melanie said and that I can think about is that Andrea is so used to Sandy judging her, and that Andrea and Sandy wasn't at the Worlds this year, and even Andrea was said in so many words that she probably got a little complacent, a little lackadaisical, and got caught sleeping on Angela Yo. But again, Andrea has to realize that Sandy is not doesn't judge all her shows, which she only does two. I'm sure she'll be the judge at the Olympia. But again, at the exact same time, you got to be on, because if she's not on, I can see Sandy swinging the other way, because remember Angela Yo's words, quote unquote, was, every day I'm in the gym, I'm painting a picture of what I think the next Miss Olympia should be. So she's saying that what she's bringing to the table is what her vision of what Miss Olympia should be, which, I can't argue with her there, because she brought it to the world. So again, it's going to be interesting. And how many days? We got 14, 13 days to Olympia?
About 10, 11, I think, because like I said, the Olympia starts the 8th, because you got to do the amateurs first, and then you have the press conference stuff in between, and then I think it's the 11th for they're gonna have women's bodybuilding and most of the other female divisions. And then you have bikini, men's open, and the other divisions the next day, because that's that Friday. So I think that's Saturday. So I think women's bodybuilding, physique, figure, and I think men's classic is going to be Friday, and then everybody else is going to be on Saturday.
Yeah, because here's a question for you, Art. So they were saying, like Sergio Oliva and some guys I was talking to, they're like sitting there saying, like, they go, because the last time they did the Olympia, the men went on, like, they go on so late. And so what I was saying wasn't, I didn't say, I guess I wasn't suggesting that they're not the most popular of the sports. It's like, me and you and George can sit here and says, how don't you guys figure this out, that the guys that you should have on first that need to be peaking and that people are paying all this money for, how aren't they the priority of the show? These guys go on so late. The last couple of years, these guys have gone on so late. And there's been complaints about it, about these guys going on so late and getting on stage so late, and, the sleep and the peak and all this other stuff, and if supposedly they're the draw. Why aren't they the priority of the show? Is my question.
Well, I think it gets back to the question of show management. If they really are the draw, then yeah, it makes sense. For me, it makes sense. If you have to, add another day.
Yeah.
If you have to. I mean, their shows, I'm trying to remember, was it Pittsburgh?
Yeah.
Or what was it that had like 2-3 days? It's like, if you have to add another day, add another day. Because it's ridiculous for you guys to have to show up, and then you're pumped up backstage, you're all oiled up and tanned up and shit like that, and then you have to sit there for like 3, 4, 5 hours waiting for your time to go on stage. I mean, it's ridiculous. You shouldn't have a show in which the night show goes on for 6 hours.
And that's what happened.
You shouldn't have it.
And that's what happened to me yesterday. So what happened was, in the story I was saying, so we didn't go. So the show started at 9:30. I looked at Chris. I said, "Well, what time do you think we're going?" He goes, "About an hour and a half." So this is at 9:30. We didn't go on stage for 5 hours. So I'm sitting around and running out of food. I'm like, "Fuck." My coach sitting here trying to figure out things. So yesterday I was like, okay, it was kind of the same format, but then they moved the schedule and moved us up. So Tina gets to the show. She goes, "I'm just going to go to the show and see where they're at." She's like, "I literally probably broke every law that there possibly is in Reno." They were actually holding my class until I got there. I literally got there, ripped off my shit. They were oiling me up as I was getting ready to go on stage. Thank God I was the last guy to go on. And so they were helping. And I looked at them like, "You guys moved the show up." And they're like, "We're sorry." They actually, at one point in time, I told Tina that my class had already went up. And
God.
And she was like, "Well, I'm going to let you guys tell him that." And the girl goes, "No, they haven't gone on yet. They held till I got there, and it worked out. But holy shit." But it was one of those things where it's like, you're absolutely right. These promoters have to get their shit together when it comes to the order of the event. So we're not, because I refused to be there for 5 hours yesterday. So I was like, I'm going to get there a little bit later because it's the same format. And, NPC is a lot of people because the whole thing was like NPC, figure, NPC bikini. We're going through all the classes. So I'm like, this is going to be a long time.
Yeah, you got to think about it. With bikini, you're going to have like, I think it was, somebody told me when they went to the universe, they had like 600 girls.
Yeah.
That was a pro qualifier, the universe. And that's bikini alone. And then you got to think about the other divisions because you're going to have different, you have the different classes. You're going to have A, B, C, D, all that, and that's just...
One possibility. How did they do it? Did all of the guys, or did all the people for all the divisions get on stage for the night show? Or was it only like the top ones?
The top 10. So out of 23 guys, they only were on the top 10. So
okay.
So we did it. So it was different because even they usually do a confirmation round, which they didn't do. So they brought out the bottom 13, went on stage, hit a pose, walked off, and then they did the routines for the top 10 guys. But again, at the exact same time, the turnaround time was like, we didn't get done till like 12:31, and then had to be there at 3:30. And so I'm like, and the only time I've ever seen that happen is like when I competed in Europe, where literally we don't leave the venue. You basically put your other trunks on, hour later, you go back on stage and you're done, which I get that. But here I was just like, you guys are just, this made no sense. And the bodybuilders were pretty pissed off because they're like, you told us to be here. It's 5 hours later and we're still sitting around here.
Right.
One guy said, I was still at my Airbnb. The guy said, I just told my coach to call me when it was time and then they would bring me to the show. So, it was like you said, that's where they got to manage their schedule and time better because we all know, especially for like men's bodybuilding, women's physique, and women's bodybuilding, women's physique, and men's bodybuilding. That's a timing thing when it comes to food and getting ready to get on stage. That's a completely different science than bikini wellness and all the other shit.
Right. So, now, what about the other divisions? Did they have the same restriction?
No.
It's like only see right there is the deal.
Yeah.
Do the exact same thing that they did for your division for everybody.
Exactly.
Only the top people are allowed to do their shit on stage. Only the
Exactly.
top people. Like the top 5 or the top 5 or the top 10 for every division, men and women. That's a smaller show.
Yeah,
People are going to get people are going to get people are going to get
the problem is, guys, and I hate to say it, and I'm probably going to get hated for saying this.
Go ahead.
But
Let me take no more.
when you watch wellness and watch bikini, those are the classes that should go on last. You know why? Because they walk so slow and their presentation so slow. You know, literally, we got 60 seconds to do what we got to do on stage. These girls get like, it seems like I had to get up because I was like, I can't do this anymore. These girls walk so slow, their presentation so slow. So if you're going to do that, Art, this is where your theory comes into place. Put their asses last because there's not a lot that goes behind being a bikini or wellness girl, you know, or figure girl for that matter, and put the bodybuilders because literally hit the spot, Keith. You got 60 seconds to pre-pose. All right, get off stage, coming back on with your group. We're gonna do call outs. Boom, you're off stage. It's boom, boom, boom. We don't get to be on stage. I can't be on stage for 2, 3 minutes, 4 minutes, doing all my posing like 10 seconds. Time. Thank you. Bye. Get off. Holy shit.
All they're doing is looking at their ass half the time.
Exactly.
That's what you. That's what's really. They say go to the back to the to the wall. Come back again. Turn around. Stick your butt out. That's why I don't really get. I would love to interview some wellness girls because but that's me. But I just don't really get onto the division like that. I don't like. I did watch when Jada competed because she's my friend. I want to support her, but I just watched her part, and then after that was done. You know, it should be it should be wool. The two slowest divisions, dead last. I feel like go with men's open first, then you go with the
classic.
you go men classic, then physique, women's physique, men's physique. Then they also got to remember you get fitness because they just have they do like you can put fitness and figure in within the same realm, and then you end off with bikini and wellness. We have a comment here from a man. Your warrior says, "Good stream, good conversation. Thank you, brother." Also, he said this. He says, "Andrea Shaw better focus and not mess up, or Angela will beat her and take her title. That's a possibility, but I'm not going to say it. Does it not? And everyone with that mindset is dangerous for Andrea." Echoing from what Keith said about Angela. That's true. And also, he said this. He says, Ashley Jones will be the next threat behind Angela if Yo wins this year. That will be a huge upset. That's a possibility. And then he said this is, I agree, Keith, but the wellness and bikini asses last. Yeah. Because
that's the problem. That is the problem. Is that the when you look at it, and no disrespect to those classes, but when it comes to the science, it's a different kind of science compared to bodybuilding, women's physique, and even classic physique for that matter, because those are peak things that we're trying to time our carbs, our food, and everything that we do, in essence, to physique, bikini, and wellness. I mean, it's a different kind of science, so it's like you got to put those classes on first, because if you don't, like even when Bruce was at North Americans, classic physique went on, and then men's physique went on, and I think because of what they seen that happen at Team Universe with 600 bikini girls, they're like, we can't do this, and that's why Gary keeps expanding the show, because like Art said, so like even though they had all those categories for the amateurs, the Master Worlds was on Sunday all by itself, and so they just made that show. And understand, we're talking about the same format as the Pro-Am or the Olympia. It's like, again, the Olympia amateur is on one day, and then you start with the pros. But if you're gonna
actually it's 2 days. The Olympia amateur, because it starts that Tuesday and then that Wednesday, because I think you do women's, because this year the last couple of years they had women's bodybuilding as a pro qualifier now, because the girl who took fifth at the at that show, and also another lady, both got their Olympia, the pro qualification at that show 2 years ago. And I think they're going to do like this. They did it before. They did the women's divisions, bikini. I think the wellness. I think women's bodybuilding, figure, physique, and then the next day they do the other divisions. I think men's open wellness like that. And it's 2 days for the amateur Olympia. They do the first 2 divisions, and then it's like you have the next day the amateurs again. Then you have the whole press conference thing, and then that Friday you start off with Miss Olympia, Miss Olympia Physique, and the others, and then Saturday is the men's bodybuilding and the others.
Well, the other one, like I said, is that not everybody's going to like this, but be restrictive as to how many people get to do the night show.
Yeah.
Like if the judges have already made up their minds in pre-judging as to who the top spots are. They already know. So take those 5 or 6 people. They and they alone get to do their routines.
Yep, that's what they did last night.
And that is, but what I mean is for every division, men's and women's, including bikini and wellness.
Yeah, because
I
don't guys in the masters class, and I was the last guy. I was 146. I was the last guy to go and do my free pose, but they were like, okay, stay on stage because you're top 5. So the top 5 guys are the only guys that are allowed to go out and do their free pose. And what they did was they like, okay, the guys who didn't make the top 5 go out, hit one pose in the middle center stage, and then go off the stage. So that's what they did.
Yeah, but I mean that right there helps show management. Is that if you restrict it, not everybody is.
I love that word, show management. You need to send that to them.
Yeah, it's like because I've done that as a fan. It's like you want to know why nobody shows up. Who's going to want to sit around for 7 hours?
Nobody.
For any event. It's like the show I was talking about, Illinois State Championships. The night show started at 6 o'clock. It's 12 o'clock. I got to go. I have a 2-hour drive back home. And the show is still not done yet.
Oh, Lord.
The show is still not done yet at midnight. That's why I say you got to have better show management, which means you got to restrict how many people get to do the night show.
Exactly.
Then it is going to go faster. Then it will be shorter. Then it'll be curtailed. Not everybody's going to like that because you know how much work goes into posing routines and such like that. But at the same time, you got to balance that with how long the show is.
And I think they do that because all the families buy tickets, and they already bought tickets, and they're like, well, really, I just came here just to watch you go on stage and hit a pose and leave, and I just spit. Put it this way, for me, and these promoters came for this whole weekend for my family. So yesterday for me, for Coach, Tina, and my daughter was $350 for tickets. Yesterday for prejudging finals. The day before for Kansas and Coach, because the Open, we got a free ticket. That was $250. So I spent almost $600 on tickets in 2 days. How crazy is that?
That is crazy. It just doesn't make no sense. It's just, But folks, truthfully, this is a great discussion we had. We're going to talk about another subject, but we got off that subject. But this is really something that really, really people need to know about. And I said again to promoters out there and to people who are fans of this sport, reach out to these promoters. If you want to see women's bodybuilding at a show like the Legion Sports Fest, I will do this. I'll put the link. I think it's Podium something. That's the name of the production company or promoter.
Who?
What's the name of the promotion company?
Legion Sports Legion.
Yeah, because it's what's the company that promotes it?
The Legion Sports Fest.
I know it's Legion Sports Fest. That's the name of the show.
Center Podium.
Center Podium. So I'm gonna do this, guys out there who really want to see women's bodybuilding at this show next year, which would probably be 2026 of the big qualification. That's still good, I'm gonna put in the description and the promotion that Center Podium. Reach out to him, and if you are someone who wants to sponsor women's bodybuilding, make sure you are certain you want to do this. Make sure put your money where your mouth is. That's what we need people for to do. Put your money in because we would love to have a show. Like think about it. You got the Titan Grand Prix. This would be a jump off for a lot of competitors. For after that show, you can have somebody say, you know what? I just did a show. Why don't I just go fly out to Reno and I can do this show? And then and I think also if we're your strength, yo Jake, hey, you can do this, brother. If you send people like Alex and Jessica out there, you're scouting. You're trying to scout and try to get more. Because instead again, this year for the Olympia's already qualification for Olympia is already set. The list I think is not set. I know Hunter's supposed to be on the list, but I haven't seen it on the list, so they might have to set her up later. Hadn't updated yet because she's supposed to be qualification for her for this year. So if you can do this, reach out to the promoter of this show. Make sure you have guaranteed contract. Put up the money, and if you can get Jake to maybe, like I said, talk to Linda. Linda would be the great person, like Linda, or if not, you can't get Linda. Somebody reach out to Iris Kyle. Iris,
because her husband was here. I don't know if they're married, but
I think they're married.
Hina Tada was here, front row. Dexter was here. See Dennis Wolf. A lot of people were here.
Yeah. Here, this is from my man Warrior. He says he's stupid. He always say. Also, guys, just like George says, no D pics when you reach out to these ladies. That's true. No D pics. None of that. And also, he says that batshit crazy. Why is the ticket so expensive, Keith? Damn.
Yeah.
Well, it is. I mean, it's crazy. I remember when you told me you used to give, we had family, you used to give you complimentary tickets for your family.
Yeah, and that's the thing I was saying that pissed me off was like, we got a comp ticket for the Open. So I sent Chris a message and I said, hey, I go, so Masters don't get a comp ticket? He's like, correct, only for the Open. I go, what? How is, again, if I'm paying for a pro card and entering a Master Pro show, how much money more does it cost for you to give me one ticket to a goddamn the same thing that you get for Open for a Master? It doesn't cost those guys that much money. It's ridiculous, and it's frustrating. It's like, you're just taking advantage of Master competitors. So why are you giving out these pro cards and making us pay the same amount of money? If that's the case, though, if you turn pro and Masters, you should have to pay $175. And the reason why you should have to pay $175 is because you have to pay entry fees to get into these shows, right?
Mm-hmm.
If I gotta pay to play, then I shouldn't have to pay the same amount as an Open person who, which I was Open and Masters, and I didn't have to pay anything as an Open competitor, but I had to pay to be a Master.
Like I said, it doesn't make sense. Like I said, Masters getting treated like amateurs, but you're not amateurs. But it's, again, it's because it's not as popular. But there's so many growing competitors who are coming to sport who are over 50, over 60. You have over 40.
But you know how many Master shows there are now? It's nuts.
Yeah,
Tim Gardner puts on a ton of Master shows now.
Yeah, because you know what, Tampa, the show they had, the Daytona show,
Chicago
it was
Pro
Masters.
is now a Master show. Tampa is now a Master show. The show that's in October, the St. Petersburg, the Daytona, all those are Master shows.
Mm-hmm, yeah, and it's just crazy. I'm gonna put this picture, folks, and this is a picture I put together, and this is the two ladies competing at the Olympia. This is Zama Benta and Lavinia Barros. This is Zama is physique. Lavinia is bodybuilding. And if you look at them, they're not too far apart. They're both from Brazil. And I posted this on my social media. They both liked it.
Are they bodybuilders or physique competitors?
No, Zama right here, the one with the huge jugs, she's bodybuilding, and Zama right here on your right, my left, she's physique. She's the one behind Sarah. She's number 3. Actually, she's behind Natalia. She's number 3.
Oh wow!
So this is what we're talking about. How the divisions are getting so much where You cannot. And I know someone she did win vitamin a couple of years back, and she took third at rising at the muscle made muscle fest that was in 2022, and she went back to physique. But her body is crazy. It's crazy. So, folks, we do appreciate y'all coming through. Shout and congratulations to my big brother here. You know,
Appreciate you.
he looked great. He looked amazing. I'm proud of him. He went to hell and back. There goes his lovely wife. You know, hey Tina, I got rid of the picture. I now because with that video, I got rid of the picture. So I'm not gonna be arguing about him. Yeah, I did that for him as a gift. I'm proud of him. So I gave him a gift. So I'm not going to argue about him. But I might argue about this one because this is another one. You got to handle my girl. I don't know.
Again, how many girls you got, George?
I want to be like
How many girls are you gonna have?
I want to be like Yes, I'm a hoe. I'm a good hoe too.
This is why I didn't date men for many years, is because of guys like you.
Thank you.
Untrusted.
I told him to give you shit. I told him.
Well, that's the thing is, you're not meant to trust. Can't trust this. she told me this when we did the interview, Tina. She told me that I was her first time.
Oh, Lord. Good God. You out there popping cherries, George.
Hey, when a woman tells you she's your first time, hey, that's just like, wow. We get the ones that say, hey, I've been this guy get to say, oh, wow. But we throw a hot dog down a mine shaft.
The hot dog down the hallway.
Yeah, we get that, pop that cherry, you know. But yeah, we appreciate that. We appreciate both of y'all. I hope we do bring the Moon Vitamin to the Legion Force Fest.
Yeah, absolutely. I hope they do.
Truthfully, if Jake, if anybody watching this, do that. That's because it's already they just had 2 qualifications for next year for Women's Physique, just in this weekend, and they have 5 more. And you cut out, and just for y'all, just one. That's the Mini Muscle Fest.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we thank y'all both. We appreciate y'all time. Thank you, brother. Appreciate you. Shout out to the man. Yeah. Shout out to the man here. Yeah. Shout out to the man here. Jeremy was here. Shout out to KL who was here. Shout out to Warrior 2000. Also, Raheem that was here. Stephen Prey. All y'all who support my content. I thank y'all, folks. Like I said, congratulations to my big brother. He deserved that. He worked hard. He worked his butt off. And, I respect and I love him. And, I hope he does good. Here's a go from, he says, damn. That's all I got to say about those 2 ladies. Yeah, they're getting huge. Yeah. And also, it says, you're always funny, Tina. Keep being yourself. She's a god, says. And he says, oh God. And he says, Lord help me. You'll be all right, brother. But folks, instead again, I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna leave the podium, link in my of this live stream. If you want to reach out to the promoter of this show and see if they can add women's bodybuilding for next year, and if you're someone who wants to sponsor women's bodybuilding, reach out with genuine interest. These ladies need opportunity. They need, like I said again, there's only one more Olympic qualification for next year, this year, and that's the Remaining Muscle Fest. This would be a great show for next year's next year's or next year qualification. If they added on, Jake, you know what you want to do. Also, maybe as I saw this earlier, he was also at the Pittsburgh Pro this year, and they're supposed to be expanding and going to doing like their own expo. Maybe Jim Mannion and family might add women's bodybuilding to the Pittsburgh Pro. Should be. That's one of the biggest shows, and it should be. Some of these bigger shows should have women's bodybuilding. But, like I said, I'm just a fan. I'm not an expert, and I wish I can do more. But this guy's a small channel. But I do appreciate y'all coming through. Shout out my man, big brother, Big Keith Williams. He really put up the show out. Shout out to Tina. She looked amazing at Titan. Shout out to everybody who was here who support my content in this channel. And like I said again, we got another week, and we got the upcoming Olympia. If you want it, the live stream is going to be kind of expensive, but if you really want to support this show, it's just like I said, a few bucks. Just you guys to tighten up your skirts a little bit, and and maybe skip some lunches. Anyways, the man always just been, aka the Emperor of Female Body Talk. Like, don't like, subscribe. I'm out. Have a good evening and good